In the last couple videos, I showed you how to use modules inside of the browser as well as inside of Node. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use NPM to download libraries other people have created full of code that you can import directly into your projects. And to do that, we need to use NPM, which stands for Node Package Manager. And luckily, once you install Node, you get NPM directly installed on your computer. If you open up your terminal and you type in npm-v and hit enter, it's going to tell you the version of NPM that's installed. It really doesn't matter what version you're using. All of them are going to work for our use cases, but essentially that's how you check to see if you have NPM installed. And with NPM, we can download and quickly install packages into our folders. So I'm at npmjs.com, which is where all of the NPM libraries are listed. If you just type NPM into Google, this should be the first result for you. And here we can search for packages. These are just pieces of code that other people have written for us that we can use inside of our projects. One such thing that I want to look at is something called the UUID. If I just type in UUID, hit search, it's going to give us 819 packages found with the name UUID inside of them. And the one that we want is just called UUID, this very first one that we get. And what this package allows us to do is to create a unique identifier. If you remember correctly from our to-do list application, we wanted to create a unique ID, but we had a little bit of trouble doing it and we ended up using dates to do it to make it somewhat unique. But UUIDs are pretty much 100% guaranteed to be unique, so we can download this library to generate unique IDs. Something interesting this will tell you is how you download it. It'll say to install this, use npm UUID. It's just the name of the package. It tells you how many downloads this package has had. You can see this package is downloaded nearly 40 million times a week, so it's very, very popular. It tells you what version it is. You can also see how recently it's been updated. Here is updated 17 days ago, so it's a fairly maintained package, which is something good to look for. It's really important to have a package that's updated, at least on a somewhat regular basis. And also, the more downloads a package has doesn't necessarily mean it's better, but generally if you find a package with a lot of downloads, it means it's pretty popular, it'll have a lot of documentation, and is generally a safe bet. And then down here, you can see if you scroll a little further, we have documentation for this library. It tells us exactly how to use it. It even tells us how to use it using ES6 module syntax and using the CommonJS syntax, which is the Node.js way of doing things. So let's scroll all the way back up here, and we need to copy this code, npm UUID. What this stands for is npm install, and then we type in the name of the package. And since install is kind of bulky, you can just write out I if you want. It doesn't matter, you could do I or install, both of them will work, and we just put the name of the package we want to install. We could also list out other packages, just separated by a space if we wanted to do multiple packages at once. In our case, we're just going to install one single package called UUID. If we hit enter and just give it a little bit of time, you notice it's going to download the package, and we're going to see this new folder called Node Modules inside of our project, as well as this package lock.json file. And something that we probably should have done before generating our package that we just downloaded is created a package JSON file, which contains all of our different dependencies. To do that really easily, just type in npm init-y. What this says is just default all of the answers to yes, and it's going to create us a brand new package.json, as you can see here. So now let's reinstall our UUID by just typing in npm install UUID, give it a few seconds, and you're going to notice inside of our package.json, we have a dependency right here, which says UUID, and it tells us the version that this package is. It's really not super important to understand what all of this means, but essentially a package.json allows you to store all of your different dependencies, and that way, when you push your code to somewhere like GitHub, you don't need to upload this entire Node Modules folder, because generally this Node Modules folder is going to be full of tons and tons of code. But you can get all of the information from this Node Modules folder just through this dependencies here. So if for some reason our Node Modules folder got deleted, oh no, it got deleted, what do? I don't have access to this anymore, and I don't remember what all my dependencies are. You can just type in npm I, and it's going to download all the dependencies from your package JSON file for you. So if we click enter, you're going to notice it's going to go back and re-download that UUID package for us. Now, another thing that you may notice when you download a package is that Node Modules has more than just one folder in it for your package. Many packages have other packages that they rely on. So this Node Modules could contain thousands and thousands of different folders just from you downloading one single package. And that's because that package relies on other packages, which rely on other packages, and so on. But that's perfectly okay. That's just kind of how the JavaScript ecosystem works. But in here, we have our UUID package. Now, what I want to do is show you how we can use this external package that someone else wrote and use it inside of our code. So inside this script Node.js file, this is going to be where we use our Node version, our Node specific modules. what we want to do is we want to require this UUID package. So what we can do is just say const UUID is equal to, this is going to be what we're getting out of there. We can just say require, and if we want to require something from node modules, we just type the name of that node module in. In our case, this is called UUID. Our Visual Studio Code editor even has this recommended for us. So now if we type in UUID, we have everything inside of the UUID object that's being exported. And the thing that we specifically want is something called v4. This is a function for generating UUIDs, and the fourth version is the version we want to use for our use case. So we can just say console.log UUID v4, and let's see what this exports. If we save this and just run node script node.js, you'll see it prints out this kind of interesting string. It generated a random unique identifier, and every time we run this, you're going to notice it gives us a different result. And that's because UUID is generating a new unique identifier every single time, and it's guaranteed to be unique. So this is why UUID is a library that I use all the time. And it's pretty simple to use inside of the Node environment. Using npm inside of Node is very easy. You just download the package as you saw, then we just type in the name of the thing that we want to get, in our case UUID, and it gives us all the information from UUID that we need to access. So that's the really straightforward way of doing this inside of Node.js. Let me clean up my files a little bit. We're going to remove essentially everything except for this index.html file, as well as this script html.js, which you can see is being loaded in here with type of module inside of our HTML document. And I just have this open up on the side here. This is the console inside of script.js. We just do console.log hi. You can see hi being printed out down here. So these are linked together. Now what I want to do is I want to download that exact same package, but instead I want to use it inside of this index.html browser environment. Now the first step is just going to be creating that package JSON. We can say npm init, and this time we're not going to put -y, just so I can show you the step-by-step process of this. You can see it asks for a package name. If you have spaces or capital letters inside your folder name, -y won't work, so you're going to need to type it out by hand here. We're just going to use all the defaults by not entering anything. And if we just click enter a few times, and it says, is this okay? Yes. It's going to create that package JSON for us, which contains nothing in it yet. Now the next step is going to be to install UUID. So far, all of this is essentially the same, whether we're using Node or using the browser. And now you can see our package.json. If we open this up, down here it has a dependency for UUID, just like when we were using this with the Node environment. We also have our package lock.json. This essentially just locks the specific version. It's saying that we're using version 8.3.1. So when you go to re-download this, use this exact version. This is just a nice way to make sure that you're using the same version when you deploy to production as you're using inside your local environment. Not really important to understand, but nice to know that it's there. Also, we have this node modules folder again, which is something that generally you don't want to push up to production. If you're using Git, you would just create a .git ignore, and inside of here you would just put node modules, and this would just ignore your node modules folder completely, because if you remember correctly, if we don't have that folder, we just run npm I, and that's going to build everything for us. So since we're not actually in a Git environment, let's just get rid of this git ignore. This should have been out here anyway, but get rid of that. And there we go. Now what we want to do is see how we can use this node modules package inside of our browser. So we know we want to do an import. We want to import UUID. We want to get it from, and in here, we just put UUID, is what you would think. But if I save this, you're going to notice we immediately get an error. Failed to resolve module specifier UUID. Relative references must start with a /, or a //. Essentially what this is saying is, I don't know what UUID is. The browser is not smart. Node is very smart. It says, if you give it a path, for example, UUID, it knows to check your node modules folder for that. But unfortunately, the browser is not that smart. We need to give it the direct path. We need to say, inside of our node modules folder, which we need to start with our //. So what we need to do is go inside this UUID folder, inside of dist, and inside of ESM browser, and we'll see this index.js. This contains all the code we need for importing. So we can go UUID/dist/ESM browser/index.js. And in order to figure this out is usually a little bit difficult. You kind of have to really dig into the code to see exactly what's exporting, what you need it to be exporting. So it's a little bit difficult to figure out exactly what you need, but trial and error will eventually get you there. But if we just close this up a little bit and save, you'll notice we get an error. The requested module does not provide an export name default. There's no default export. We need to just import a specific module, a named module. In our case, we want to get v4. That's the function we used in the Node version. Now if we save, we don't get any errors, and we can console.log running this v4 function, and you'll notice we get a new unique identifier every single time that we do this. But you'll notice it's quite cumbersome to use Node modules like this inside of the browser because we have to give it the nice long path. We have to find the exact perfect file inside of it, while with Node, all we had to do was just pass it UUID and took care of everything for us. Don't you just wish we could do that inside of the browser? Well, that is what bundlers do for us. They take care of all the crazy magic behind the scenes and make things work just perfectly like you would expect them and want them to. So in the next video, we're going to be taking a look at a bundler called Parcel, which is incredibly easy to use and super nice to work with. So I can't wait to see you in that video.